I've had a chance to catch up with McGravy just before his match against the Dallas Fuel, and then the Vancouver Titans actually tomorrow as well. This is a packed homestand for you guys, and you have been with the LA Valiant for like a little bit of last season. It was kind of towards the latter half when the team started picking back up again, but they made major changes in the offseason and retained you along with KSF and Shax as the kind of big figures within the team as leading the team culture forwards. Can you talk to me a little bit about how that change has been to see the Valiant resurge towards the end, not quite make the playoffs, and then have a total rebuild in the offseason? It must have been big changes.
Yeah, when I first got onto the team, it was super chaotic, and obviously I didn't play a big role in actually playing in the team, but yeah, I played a big part in like kind of changing and molding like the team dynamic and the team structure and like how things work. So when I first got there, example, like the comms were super chaotic because I think they were so used to the style that like the Fate, Izzyaki, and all those players they traded away before, they were used to that style. And yeah, it was just kind of like molding and shaping the team culture. And then obviously, you know, at the offseason, nobody really expected, even myself expecting, you know, Agilities, Kariv, Space, everybody to leave. And then once they left, it was like, well, what now, obviously. So, and then even in the offseason, I wasn't sure where I would be. Like, everyone's like, oh, LA Valiant retained McGravy, must have been there the whole time. No, I had no idea. Right. I had absolutely no clue where I'd be. I did my tryouts, just like everybody else, and worked my way through tryouts. And once I got here, I've kind of been, like, the main guy to sort of, like, shape the team into what it is now, being, like, the big emotional leader, because I'm one of the players with the most experience. So it's basically on me and Kyle, me and KSF, to do a lot of that.
No pressure, though. Absolutely. What's the feel for the Valiant coming into 2020? If you look at it from the outside, it looks like a team full of rookies, people that are fairly unproven. There's a lot of people in the community had no faith. I will sign myself up for that one as well. When I first saw that roster, you know, I made a bet with Custer thinking that they would be, or rather that you guys would be, kind of a bottom three team. It seems like the community perception is shifted based on scrimbux. We'll get into that stuff later. I'll get the juice out of you a little bit later. But what's the attitude like for the LA Valiant coming into 2020?
We absolutely love being rated 19 and 20th. We absolutely love it. Yeah, we have a lot of rookies. We do have a lot of people who haven't been on stage before. That's me the biggest question mark. I think even myself going into the year, I was like, I'm not sure. These are a lot of players that even myself I didn't know much about. So it was a lot of big question marks going into it. But I think once someone hit like the server and we started knowing each other and started playing, we're way, way better than anybody expected, including ourselves. I think even like the coaching staff and the players was like, we could be better than like last year, for sure, like 100%. I think everyone's confident this year. Like even though we don't have the big names, we don't have the experience, just in terms of raw talent and ability, we could be a top 10 team, we could be a top 5 team. We could seem to go really deep in the playoffs.
What do you put that down to? Is that the coaching staff? Is that the fact that you guys actually went through trials, whereas other teams kept, you know, parts of their core and maybe didn't improve as a result because they haven't got new blood? What do you think is the driving reason behind the fact that Valiant feel, at least from the inside, better than they look on paper?
Yeah, a lot of teams, I don't want to say get stagnant, but they're happy with kind of like the veteran experience. And they're like, okay, well, this guy's done it before, so, you know, this is what we can expect out of him. But obviously, since we did tryouts, we ran through, like 300, 400 players, and we just got all these takes and all these looks. Like, and these are the players, like, at the last 5. Like, this is, like, the most potential we could possibly have. And then I'd say the biggest part for our team is coaching staff. Personally, like, I'm biased, obviously, but I think we have the best coaching staff in the league in terms of just overall rounded. We have Packing 10, who's like the super, like, military, keep everything in line, and then we have really smart coaches in Gumba, Stoop, and Reprise. All 3 of them are super smart. They can do any of the roles, any of the approaches, you know, not just strategy. They're really good personally, so it's really easy for each player to learn everything as much as they can every day.
Yeah, that's interesting that you talk about the coaching staff because they are pretty highly rated by the rest of the league as well. But there's other stacked coaching staffs around the league who would, I think, struggle to be able to turn a team that on paper looks kind of weak into a fantastic squad. So just fair play to the Valiant coaching staff if they're actually able to pull it off. What I want to ask you about a little bit is some of the names that people won't be as familiar with, to give us maybe some idea of what to expect or how good you think they are, or maybe just a little nugget of what they like to play with. So I know that you like to talk about Lastro. You were chewing my ear off just before we came for the interview about how good he is. What can you tell me about this guy? He played for Sky Foxes before. Some people might have seen him in Contenders. But when he gets to a big stage and he's playing against the Owl teams, what do you think he's going to be like?
We like to call Lastro Kariv 2.0. We actually do. He is exactly like Kariv. He is a complete troll. If you do not keep a leash on him, he will go wild, and he will do dumb stuff really, really quickly. But in the same tune, he's really good at Ana, and Ana's really good this meta. So that's something you should expect from Last Show. Is he's probably one of the best Anas in the game, and obviously he doesn't have the stage experience. So I think that's gonna be the biggest question mark for Last Show going into is like how can the leaders like me and Kyle help him feel comfortable on stage? And I think once he gets uncomfortable on stage, he's gonna be top 5 flex support in the game.
What about your tank line then, yourself included? Because when we saw you pop off for the Florida Mayhem, you came in your first game, I think you ate like 3 grabs or something ridiculous like that. It was a bit of a fairy tale opening for you. But then you didn't get that much stage time, and on the LA Valiant, you didn't get that much as well. And so I feel like you're another player that when you look at the VODs of what you've actually done in the Overwatch League, there's still quite a bit to prove, at least on a range of off-tanks, because primarily known for your Diva, and you played DPS in the past. Yeah. So you alongside Gig, who I'm presuming is going to start, but possibly Dreamer, or the two combined if they have Ryan Orisa stuff floating around, what can we expect from this Valiant tank line, and why is it better than people might think?
I do, like, even myself, I can admit that our tank line is probably the biggest, for everybody, it's the biggest question mark. We have the least experience, probably the names that not a lot of people recognize. But for myself personally, like you said, I haven't really had those chances. I had those couple games in Florida where, like, I played pretty good, you know, for what Florida Mayhem was that season. I mean, I did the best I possibly could in the situation that I was given. Yeah. Trust me, me and Apply tried as hard as we could to make that the best situation possible. But, yeah, we have the least experience, but we have a lot of drive. That's for sure. Like, obviously, you know, not a lot of people are confident in us, but I think that's what drives us. Like I said, 19, 20, stuff like that, especially Gig. I think Gig's a big, he's a big, like, motivational guy. He's a big, like, he's big into, like, he's like a Christian football guy. You know, he's like one of those guys in the locker room. Like, he gets everybody all hyped up. He's the goofball of the team, so he's kind of like the energy, like, driving force behind the team. And, he learns really quickly. That's not something we expected. We expected it to be like kind of like a project for both our main tanks, but Gig learns really quickly, and he's really good right now, especially in this meta. And I think that's a big reason why we're really good in this meta. And the whole scrimbux everybody's buying into is our tank line's performing way better than a lot of people expected.
Yeah, that's a big deal, I think, if you're able to get value out of those kind of people. DPS, run me through these guys, because from what I've heard, KSP is absolutely popping in scrims. Like, you wouldn't even believe, and that warms my heart as a UK fan.
I think KSP is the best widow in the game, and I think he's. Really? I think he's the best widow in the game, and I think he's gonna go up on that stage and he's gonna prove it. The kid is absolutely insane. There are some fights in scrims where people are like, "What are you doing? Are you cheating? Like, what is going on?" It's like 2v6 and we win a fight. It's absolutely unreal. Like, he's gonna prove that he's the best widow in the game really quickly.
That's actually kind of insane to hear. I mean, I'm taking this with a grain of salt, obviously, because it's coming from somebody on the LA Valiant. But there's been this surge of scrimbux that I'm going to keep referring to, because there have been people coming out, your opponents have been on stream and saying, you know, actually, LA Valiant, all these people rating them at the bottom, they're looking like a good team right now. Been people, those are the kind of teams as well that just scrim within themselves at the top of the league. There's little cliques of scrims that develop, so if you guys are even scrimming them, that indicates that you're doing pretty well anyway. Without revealing too much juice, because this interview is going to go out before both of your matches that happened this weekend, what's been behind them? What can you tell me about these scrimbucks?
I think the biggest thing, we found our style. With how this season works with all the traveling, I think a lot of teams are going to have like their own sort of style that they sort of have to like make work, and they can't, you know, just play the meta and play whatever everyone else is playing. I think that's the biggest thing for us, is we found our style, and without giving away too much, we have been playing good teams and we have been performing well, and there's a lot of teams that are coming back and say, hey, we want to scrim more. So obviously that's a big confidence boost for us going into, you know, going into the season, as we have these teams that were, you know, top 5 last year, and like, you know, teams that are still really good this year, you know, saying like, hey, I want to scrim more. So obviously without getting away too much, we've been playing well, and you know, that's like giving us a really big confidence boost going into the matches for sure.
This meta has yet to solidify, really. We've seen, I mean, I've been able to witness a couple of scrims. I've been able to see some of the matches that have happened in New York just this morning as well. And it seems like there's less mirror matches than a lot of other times during Overwatch. And I don't just mean in terms of the DPS that often happens. Like, the tank lines are different. We're seeing Ryan and Diva and Ryan Orisa being played quite a lot as the two main duos, with a lot of changing supports and DPS behind it. Do you think the fact that this meta hasn't solidified and will continue to change with hero pools coming in March 7th, do you think that favors teams like yours that can grasp onto a style and just run with it?
Yeah, I think that's a big testament to our coaching staff. Like there's been so many different metas and scrims before like the matches even started, because there's been so many new patches with the way they're patching the game. There's been so many new patches, so there's been like big 4 or 5 quote unquote meta comps, but we've been able to adapt really fast. And I think that teams that can adapt the fastest, especially with hero pools coming out, are gonna be the teams that are most successful.
How are you feeling about the matches that are coming up this weekend? So you got your game against Dallas. That is a rematch of the time that you were last here. I mean, you weren't actually in that starting roster, right? But you must have witnessed what occurred, the incredible booing, LA Valiant getting destroyed. I mean, I've been watching some of the highlights because we've got replay packages we're going to be running. OG styled on the LA Valiant. I mean, does that change things for you guys coming into that game? Does that mean that you have extra skin in the game against Dallas?
Personally, for me, I have a lot to prove. I think for this match in particular, it's my first time playing back on stage in a long time. And I was on the Dallas Fuel Academy team. This team has had plenty of opportunities to pick me up, have me on their roster. They had an off-tank need for a really long time. So for Civic, for me, I've got a lot to prove in this match for sure. But yeah, they got absolutely dismantled. And I was sitting in the stage. I was actually in the stands. I was in the stands last time they were playing. I was on the Florida Mayhem. So, obviously we want to redeem ourselves. I think we do have a little bit of extra skin. It's the first game of the season. We're going to go out and get booed. I love getting booed. Please boo me. Everyone up there on our team is going to love getting booed, and it's going to fuel us even more. Fuel us even more to beat the Fuel.
Fantastic. I mean, what a pun. Yeah. You've outdone yourself. Yes. Unbelievably bad. Okay, and then you're going up against the Vancouver Titans. They are literally Titans. They've been fantastic throughout the whole of last year. I think the fact that they got 4-0 crushed in the finals makes some people forget that they were really dominant throughout the season, along with Shock. So they're still expected to be pretty good coming into this. How do you feel against that matchup in particular? And or are you just waiting to see how it goes against Dallas first?
It's kind of a wait and see. We absolutely know nothing about Vancouver. Like that, we haven't scrimmed them. I don't think anybody we've played scrimmed them. We know nothing. I don't think we know anything about each other besides like the little rumblings that they're in the background. But yeah, it's kind of just a wait and see. We kind of want to see how they play today, and I think tomorrow or today at night we're gonna see how they play and kind of move from there. But they're Titans. Like they're gonna be really good. They have they just picked up Fisher. They have Ru Jae Hong. Like they have a really good team, and obviously we have a lot to be prepared for. But as long as we play our style, I think we're really confident we could play anybody in the league.
Okay. Good luck for your matches, McGravy. I hope that we get to see excellent games. I think that all of the matches here at the homestand are actually going to be fantastic because your team is so much better than we thought they were going to be. Do you have any final words for any fans that still don't believe or anybody that wants to put you at 20th in their power rankings like I nearly did? I revised it, but I nearly did.
We're just going to cash in our scrimbux, 100%.
Well, there you go. McGravy told you. Those scrimbux, they're going to be worth a lot. Keep cashing in. Or should you sell them now while they're really high before the Valiant have proved themselves? I don't know. You'll have to find out. But we'll see you on the other side of the Valiant match.